we'll explain the 5 love languages, and I'm going to guide them here. This is some information with respect to the impact that love languages actually have on relationships. It says here that love languages have not been widely studied. Interesting. They have not been widely studied, okay? However, 2 early dissertations examined how knowing your partner's love language might impact the relationship satisfaction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to season 3 of Steven and Kori's Get It Together. I'm Steven and
I'm Kori, and we are thrilled to be back with you this season. Season 3, right?
It's hard to believe. It's really incredible.
So fast.
Yeah, it's going so fast.
So we're going to jump right into it. Today, we're diving into the topic of the 5 love languages and how you can connect with each other on a higher level because you understand each other's love languages, right?
Absolutely. And we're going to be exploring concepts of love language popularized by Dr. Gary Chapman. Some of you may have read the book.
And how and if those concepts really do enhance your relationship. We're going to talk about if they really do and how they do, if they really do.
So let's dive into the 5 love languages and find out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right? So we'll explain the 5 love languages, and I'm going to guide them here. Since number 1, it is words of affirmation.
Yep.
Right. Number 2, acts of service.
Yep.
3, receiving gifts.
Yep.
4, and maybe even the most important, quality time. And 5, physical touch.
So when we're talking about that, remember, our aim is to help you discover, understand, and effectively communicate your love languages with each other. Now, when we talk about those 5, we're going to go into detail of them because a lot of people are going, what do you mean acts of kindness? You know, what's that mean? What do you mean acts of service? Excuse me. What's that? Service, like a service dog? No, serving the other person, you know, and we're going to explain to you those. So why don't we go into that a little bit deeper and explain what that really looks like?
In terms of gifts, surprising them with gifts that they don't know are coming.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll hear those people that say, oh, my husband, every time he comes home from work, he brings me flowers. Or a man who says, my wife, she's always making sure I get a massage once a week or something like that. Those are little gifts that you give each other.
Next would be words of affirmation, like giving them compliments. When's the last time you gave your spouse a compliment?
Right. Or just encouraging too. You're great at that, you know, or I so look forward to when you do blah, blah, blah. Or you're exceptional. So those are affirming the person, words of affirmation.
Right. Next would be quality time.
That's important. So quality time, I think we all know what that means, but what that looks like for in a relationship is time with nobody else but them. Or if you're doing quality time with other people, have some time alone with them. You know?
And the other thing is during that time, intently listening. If you're having a conversation, you're not flipping through your phone, you know, or looking all around, maybe trying to look at the television or whatever, right?
True.
The next is acts of service.
Right. And we talked about that. You want to go into what that is?
So that's simple things like maybe doing an errand. You know, maybe your spouse has, you know, clothes at the laundromat or clothes at the dry cleaner. You go and pick them up or go shopping, you know, something like that for them, right? And then physical touch.
Yes. Yep. Physical touch is important.
Giving them a hug, right? Something like that. So, anything else?
Well, just the importance, understanding and speaking those love languages with each other is primary in understanding how people operate and can significantly change your conversation and your relationship just due to the fact that you're understanding where they come from. It's an enhancer for the relationship to have a little bit more satisfaction to it. So now we're going to go into our stats and facts, which you guys know we love our stats and facts because it proves we're not the geniuses. We're just doing the homework, you know, and we love getting into stats and facts. Okay, so what are the 5 love languages? Steven already explained those to you. Something I'm going to read here is a recent study found that the most preferred love language was time, and that was at 40%.
Yeah, we just touched on that.
40.8% time And, once you give time, you can't get it back. So that's so important.
Sure.
Followed by touch, which was exactly 40%. And then words of affirmation, which was 22.7. What a difference, huh?
Right.
Touch to
Yeah.
words of affirmation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then acts of service was 13.6%. And gifts was 4%.
Wow.
This study was done in 2020 by Hughes and Camden. And it's interesting to see.
Right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to see how many people said gifts are at 4% versus time together was at 40.8%. So that's says a lot about what people value. And it's nice in a relationship that people value the time together more than the stuff.
Absolutely.
Because you can't take stuff with you, but a memory of time will always be there. It's an enhancer.
This is some information with respect to the impact that love languages actually have on relationships. It says here that love languages have not been widely studied. Interesting. They have not been widely studied. Okay. However, 2 early dissertations examined how knowing your partner's love language might impact the relationship satisfaction. Thatcher in 2004, Veal in 2006. Neither study found that it helped. In fact, not only did not knowing the partner's primary love language not correspond with the greater relationship satisfaction at the moment, but it also didn't relate to greater satisfaction like weeks later. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So that tells you something. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry if you don't know your partner's love language. It's okay. You don't have to get caught up in, oh my goodness, I'm not sure. It's okay.
Right.
Know your partner and the love language will flow.
Sure.
So here's another one. Maybe knowing your partner's language isn't enough. A lot of people think that's it. Perhaps you need to be matched. So some people think if I'm matched together. So this is debunked right here because a lot of people out there say, well, if I match somebody, if I like acts of service and they like acts of service, we'll get along great. Not necessarily. So here's a research done by 2 Australian scientists, tested this by seeing if partners with matching love languages had better relationships. And that was done by Butt EAL, which is in 2007. They gathered couples in their mid-20s and had each person complete a measure of their relationship satisfaction and love styles, meaning if they tend to express feelings by running errands for their partner. Consistent with Chapman's suggestions, researchers determined each partner's primary love language based on which of the 5 love languages had the highest score. Next, researchers compared partners to see if their primary love languages matched, meaning that if they both had the same love language, or if they mismatch, or if one person had a stronger one and the other one didn't even have it at all. Oh. According to Chapman, those with aligned love languages should have better relationships, right?
That's right.
Okay, no. However, this was not the case. Couples with mismatched love languages had relationships that were just as good as those couples who were matched.
Wow.
And you could argue that it might not just be the alignment that matters, but that they were also beneficiaries to unusual love languages that they didn't expect. Think about that. So if you both have the same love language back and forth, then you don't expect anything different. So that can be actually more fulfilling to say, oh, my goodness, I don't give gifts, but my spouse gives gifts. Right. And I feel so much better about that. That's so special to me. So so just understand that sometimes the researchers found no evidence that the insight helped them have a more satisfying relationship. So you don't have to have a satisfying relationship to try to find that partner that thinks just like you do or has the same love language.
It's interesting. What I'm seeing evolve here is this whole notion that relationships really are complicated. It's not like, even these 5 love languages, folks, it's not like these are silver bullet, right? I mean, you still have to do some work. And that's maybe one of the things we're wanting to flesh out here with you is to go through this data with you and tell you that there is some, substantial information out here.
Yes.
And Dr. Chapman's book did create somewhat of a runway, okay, for us to, run down the road here and try to figure these things out. But it is not categorically the answer.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
It's different.
It's different. And be aware of that. Let your relationship flow. We're going to give you our real raw. So just so you know, we've been there. One thing that my love language is acts of service. I love to give acts of service. But acts of service in what I enjoy doing. So not necessarily doing acts of service and things I don't like to do, but I love to cook for my family. I love to clean for my family. I don't mind running errands, those type of things. I like acts of service.
Right.
But that's not necessarily what I like to receive.
Sure. Yeah.
So what I like to receive.
What she loves.
Yeah.
If you want to have her like eating out of your hand, call her Mrs. Burgess. That's number one. All right. Number two for her is she loves compliments.
Yeah.
Just absolutely loves compliments. If she makes a meal and you're eating it, you should say something like right away within 5 minutes of diving into it. Okay. You should say, how wonderful it is, and give her all kinds of fancy compliments about the table setting and those kind of things. Okay?
Because that's my act of service out. So
Right.
I want to be acknowledged on the service I'm giving.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing I do love, though, are just words of affirmation. Kori, you can do this, or, that you're made for more, or just things that are edifying and affirming the thing that I'm doing. So that's for me. And I had to learn that, by the way, you guys. I didn't realize how important it was for me to receive words of affirmation. I was like, oh, don't say that. It's why was I rejecting that? That was a mind game, because eventually I was like, I like those.
It's interesting too, because as I'm listening to her and we've been together, if you watch any of our other podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
We've been married for 40 years, 40, right? 40 years. And it makes me kind of think a little bit about the fact that actually, so she's the youngest of her family. And I wonder how much impact that might have on individuals as it relates to their love languages and how those things evolve.
I don't know, but I can tell you this. I used to love to clean when I was a kid. So I grew up loving to clean. I just like to clean. I like clean things.
Right.
And so cleaning for people is a gift that I would like to give people. I don't mind going into their homes and cleaning for them. I don't want to be a housekeeper and clean when I'm not appreciated, but as a gift for someone who is struggling or somebody who is ill, I'll go in and clean their home for them. So that's something I do love. So I don't know, maybe that was something I grew up with. So that's my story. And in meeting Steven, he was the person who was always affirming me and giving me these accolades. And I was like, okay, calm down, buddy. And we were friends first, as you know. So it was interesting that I liked that, but I wasn't used to so much praise. I mean, as a kid, I got, I was rewarded with doing successful things in sports and everything else, but just as a nice gesture, just to say nice things, that was unusual for me. So
I enjoyed actually giving her compliments, because it was always easier to say thank you for something, because she was actually very thoughtful, that kind of thing. So as it relates to myself, one of my love languages is touch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I lay in her lap and she rubs my head, I'm done. It's just like, what do you want, honey? You want what? Okay, go buy it. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, he's a hand holder. We're always holding hands. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
And when you meet people, is it not just for me, but you enjoy touch with people you meet? You're a hugger. I'm a hugger too.
Sure. I'm not as much of a hugger as you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So,
but
anyway.
that love language is not just for the person. It's in general.
Right.
So would you say that's in general?
I'd say in general.
Touch?
Yeah. In general, in touch. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And that's what you like to give out, or that's what you like to receive. What do you like to give out?
So what I love is I love giving gifts, big gifts, like cars, trips,
dogs,
right?
Yeah.
But I love to give gifts because you take care of them.
Yeah. But
so maybe that's part of my love language. I like to see things taken care of.
Yeah. That's probably it.
He does.
He does like, I don't know which one that is, but he does like seeing things taken care of. So he's a giver. Yeah. Yeah.
She's organized. Maybe that's one of my love languages too. Organization. Thank you.
Yeah, but you're not organized.
No. That's right.
He likes me.
My love language is you be organized.
But that's not love language.
And I'll enjoy that.
But that's not love language. You can't say that. But okay, he does. He likes that part. Yeah. So that's who we are.
What about you guys? What is your love language?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a love language just for your partner that's different for others? Would that still be considered love language?
I don't know.
Because I mean, I love serving other people outside of my partner and my family. So that is my acts of service.
Right.
And I love to be affirmed by other people outside of my family.
Sure.
But you aren't giving gifts to everybody. You're giving them to me.
Primarily
and
to
family.
you and our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. So yeah, find out how that works in your family, not just for you and your partner, but for your kids too. You know, it's good to know. Again, it's not going to tear apart your family or your marriage if you don't do it, but it just enhances what you have there.
And some of your burning questions, one of them was how do love languages, or maybe how love languages can improve your relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So, we have the Q&A section where we answer questions. This time we actually have them written down here. So we're not pulling them from our box. Our box is over there, but we're not pulling them from the box. And one of them was, how do you understand that love languages in the conversation?
Right.
And it's not necessarily the time together conversation. It's tapping in, asking questions like, honey, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? Or can you fix this? If they don't like fixing stuff, they're probably not acts of service. They're not the handyman. They're not going to be doing those things. So have a conversation about it. Would you say that?
Sure, absolutely. Let me ask you this. What do you think? How does a partner learn how to speak their partner's love language?
Well, I would say that incorporating the love language into your daily life or special occasions. So if you know your partner's love language, I would think the best way to adhere to that or make sure that it's a part of that daily life is to put it into that life.
Mm-hmm.
You be the one, or actually tell your partner, I know you love doing this. Let me know when that can happen, when you can do that, or when I can do that for you, or when you see that in an environment where you can move in that love language, do it, because it makes you feel better because you're expressing yourself in the way that you're meant to express yourself. Those are some really good questions, short but good questions, because a lot of it we covered in the show already. But make sure you join our community. We want to invite you to join our Facebook group.
Yeah, which is Stronger Marriage Support Network. Stronger Marriage Support Network.
So when you go to Steven and Kori Facebook, just go into our group. That is a great place for us to have a community of married people who feel comfortable sharing their experiences, giving some outlook to other couples. It doesn't matter the age of your marriage. It just matters that you're married and that you might want to give a tip or some sort of experience that you've been through to help other married couples.
Yes. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time and your participation in this podcast.
Yes, we do. And we'll see you next Sunday. So stay tuned to see you again on Get It Together Together.